Hi, so I've just lost my first recording, so we'll just try that again. Okay, so I'm PACEProposalBLambeth, and this is a brief overview of my proposed PACE research project. So, first of all, a little bit about me and why I want to do this project. I've always been very fascinated by animals. I think I connect with them better than I do with people. Particularly, I really love to be around dogs and otters. I find the way that they're so playful and that they just enjoy the present moment and don't think about the past or the future that much. I think that's sort of the way that I wish I lived, and I just love being around them. It gives me this sense of peace that I've never felt any other way. Um, I have a number of disabilities. The biggest way they affect me is in terms of sensory uh, smells and sounds and things like that are intense to the point of being painful. So, because of autism spectrum disorder, part of that is hypersensitivity. So, specific smells like perfumed products and things like that can be very painful to experience. And also, with misophonia, it's basically a condition where certain specific sounds that your brain could usually filter out, like the sound of coughing or chewing in the background, is actually extremely distressing, as if it was a life or death situation. And so that makes it very difficult to be in a classroom environment. And I kind of found that out the hard way in my first 2 years of university, where it sort of, I tried to just suck it up and it didn't work, of course, and I ended up, having some really severe mental health complications from that. So this year I'm having to do all my all my work either online or individually, which is why this isn't a group project. The last thing to know about me is I've always been fascinated with science and the natural world, and particularly paleontology. Um, I find the history of how the continents got to be where they are and how animals got to be what they are today, and all of that to be really fascinating. And I find it just adds so much richness to life, because every rock and every plant and everything around us has a 4,000 million year story to tell. And that's really incredible to be part of that. But anyway, onto the main point, which is the research question. So, um, my question is there a correlation between the volume of environmental background noise in an area and the abundance of ground-dwelling invertebrates and birds? And specifically, I'll be looking at the Macquarie University Ecology Reserve. The reason I'm asking this question, I guess, comes back to sort of the things I'm personally interested in, because I'm interested in animals and getting to understand the way they think and the way they experience the world. And so, of course, this question appeals to me, and also um, with the way that noise and the senses affect my life so severely, I feel like it would be good to have an understanding of to what degree that's true of other creatures. So, some background on research that's been done into this area before and the importance of it. First of all, we know that wildlife is important to human health. So, Curtin in 2008 found that wildlife tourists reported experiencing awe, mindfulness, and empathy when encountering wildlife, and not only when they were on holiday, but even just encountering wildlife in their own backyard. And similarly, Neb found that interactions with wild animals actually improved outcomes for mental health patients. So there's this real connection that can be formed between people and animals. That's research is still very new into this area, but it seems like it's a pretty key part of our sense of connection with the world and our own mental well-being. So given the importance of wildlife, then it's important that we preserve wildlife and we care for its needs. And one of those needs we've been finding is a need for quiet. So if, for example, Turner in 2007 found that environmental noise actually disrupts several important functions in laboratory animals. So it inhibits their social behavior, inhibits reproduction, even inhibits cardiovascular function, and disrupts sleep-wake cycles. So that's a pretty all-encompassing effect of noise there. That's something that seems very serious for animals. And similarly, Coppola in 2010 found that noise levels in animal shelters actually cause substantial distress to dogs as well. So it's clear that for animal welfare that noise reduction is important. So the design and methods, this is still in a very early stages, so I'm hoping to get guidance from my supervisors to make this more scientifically rigorous and valid, but this is just like a general sort of first draft, I guess, of the kind of thing that I might be doing. So basically I'll be choosing supposed to say 10 locations, but I stuffed it up. 10 locations at the ecology reserve, 5 grassy surfaces, 5 with bare earth, and far enough apart from each other so that they don't sort of affect each other too much. So from 10 AM to 7 PM on 3 consecutive days, I'll measure the ambient noise level at each location using an iPhone microphone. And at the same time I do that, I'll measure the number of birds visible around me and the number of ground vertebrates within a marked 1 meter square area. Now there are a number of limitations to this particular experiment. A lot of them are to do with actually the fact that a person has to go and make the measurements, because a lot of animals will naturally avoid humans, being these big, lumbering, noisy, scary things. So this will be biased towards species that are less fearful around humans, and that could mean that it's not actually applicable to all birds and ground-dwelling invertebrates. Similarly, those that are easier to spot, the study will be biased towards those, and those that are diurnal. So we're taking the measurements during the day, so we will miss a lot of the nocturnal species and how noise affects them. We also have quite a small sample size, and of course we're only measuring in the actual ecology reserve of Macquarie University, so it's questionable how much we can actually extend the result of this study to other things. Also birds and invertebrates are not actually independent, so it will be probably not possible to establish whether the noise is directly responsible for both, or whether the noise is affecting one and then that is affecting the other. So maybe birds prey on invertebrates and that affects the numbers, or maybe invertebrates attract birds, so that's a possible complication. So here's just a proposed timeline. I won't bore you with this, but as you can see, I've sort of mapped out what I want to have done by when. So ideally by the end of August I want to try and refine these methods, refine the question, and get it into a form where I can know what I'm doing. And I also want to figure out an appropriate statistical test to use as well, so that I have everything prepared so that I can get the right data when I actually run the experiment. So I'm actually still looking for a second supervisor at the moment, so I'm going to have 2 supervisors. But my first supervisor, who's kindly helping me out, is John Macris. So he works at the university campus, managing habitats and managing the natural environment on campus. So he's pretty much the perfect person to supervise this experiment, and I'm really grateful to him for helping me out with this. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting his feedback, and also to meeting my other supervisor as well. So thanks for taking the time to watch through all this presentation. And yeah, hopefully you'll look forward to future developments in this project. I know I'm definitely excited to see what kinds of things I find. And just quickly, in case you want to look up any of those articles I mentioned, there's some references here.